life, we'll make immediate decisions. We'll see something happening and react really quickly. And more often than not, those quick reactions end badly for us. The topic I got today was immediacy, and I want to talk about making decisions for the moment and how living for the moment and making quick decisions almost always ends negatively in our lives. First off, I want to look at the main worldview behind this idea of living for the moment. Second off, the negative repercussions this has. And finally, look at some examples from my own life of when I've seen these repercussions happening. So this word immediacy, it made me think of times in my life when I have gone and just made quick decisions, been very immediate in the way that I respond to things happening. Now there's a major worldview that supports this idea of living for what we want in a certain moment, and that is the worldview of hedonism. I'm sure you've heard this word before. And the main facet behind hedonism is this idea that we live for the moment. Now, hedonism typically means kind of a party life and not really living a very substantial life with good character and whatnot. But it can often, and sometimes does mean, times when you respond too quickly, make too quick of decisions, not thinking about your future goals, but rather thinking about what you want in the moment. So hedonism is a worldview behind this word immediacy. So in a situation when you know you have something due in weeks, but you don't want to work on it just then, that would be an example of hedonism. While it's not so negative as going and partying and whatnot, it is a lower level example of this worldview of hedonism, when you live for what you want in that exact moment, not thinking about what you want in the future and what you want to aspire to later. So that's the worldview behind this idea of reacting quickly or immediacy, the worldview of hedonism. But there are some really negative repercussions of this worldview, and I'm sure that some of these are very obvious. When we live not thinking about our future hopes and goals, we basically sacrifice those in the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. A really great example would be through finances. I know personally for me, I have to pay for driver's insurance in a few months. And unfortunately, over the past year, I haven't made the best decisions in putting aside money in little deposits. Instead, I have just been spending my money on other things, at tournaments, hanging out with friends, etc., and not been putting aside that money. So now I'm faced with this summer having to work for a long time to make this money back up. And that was a decision. I made immediate decisions, living for the moment, hedonistic decisions along the way, that sacrificed my future hope and dream of getting my driver's license. So finances are a great example of negative repercussions, because when we make decisions based on just one moment, we don't think about what we want later in life. Now, finances is just a little example of this. There's lots of bigger scale examples, such as making bad decisions in studying or not preparing for something that needs to be prepared for, and eventually it comes back to bite you when you're not ready for something that you needed to be ready for. So when we make these decisions, these immediate decisions, we sacrifice what we want for the future for what we want just then. Now, in my own life, I've been alluding to this. I've made decisions like this in the past. I have made some hedonistic decisions, some immediate decisions throughout my life. And the biggest examples I've seen in the past are decisions regarding my schooling, and specifically with bigger assignments that are due on a certain date. Oftentimes I'll get a big research paper, a 15, 16-page research paper that I have to prepare for along the way. It's not something you can sit down and write 2 hours before it's due. So oftentimes in life I'll decide, my friend calls wanting to go do something, and I'll say, oh, I can study later, I can work on that paper later. But then the week before the project is due, I'm scrambling all week long. My family can definitely be witness to that fact, that it becomes a really stressful environment in my house when I'm not ready for what I need to be ready for. Another great example would be my speeches. Recently I just rewrote one of my prepared speeches, and up until about a week ago I hadn't worked on memorizing it. So the week before NITOC, I'm quickly trying to memorize this prepared speech, and it ended in last round making a big memory mistake because I wasn't ready for what needed to be done. So there's some personal examples from my own life on when I've made decisions for the moment, not wanting to work on something because it sounded tedious, but sacrificing my future hopes for how I wanted to end up in those situations. So today I got the word immediacy, which makes me think of hedonism on a general scale, and times in life when we sacrifice what we want in the future for what we want in that moment. In almost all situations, living for now results in later not being a better situation for us, and for us giving up what we want for our future. So when I think of this word immediacy, I think of times in life when I want to prepare, and how important it is to prepare for what we want in the future and not live for the moment. Thank you.